Hey friends, my name is Mitch, and today we're going to be doing another dog. So this is a dog wrapped up in a blanket, apparently. He looks really comfortable. So we're going to start out here with velour paper, which is like a fuzzy paper. If you run your hand across it, it feels sort of like a low shag carpet. And so we're going to be using Mount Vision pastels to start with. So the issue I had with this particular painting is I don't have that color. So I have like 120 browns, and oddly, I do not have the color that's on the portrait. So what I did was I went and mixed two different colors. I mixed a color from Mount Vision, and then I mixed a different brown. So luckily, a different brown from Great American Pastel. So luckily, pastel is dust. So if you put two different styles of dust together, it'll make a new color. Sort of like mixing paint, except much more of a hassle. So what I did was I would get this Mount Vision pastel, which you can see here, which is a lovely pastel, by the way. It's the size of a small car, and it only costs $4. So I love Mount Vision. So this is Great American. So the Great American pastel, you can see I'm sort of putting an underlayer on, and then I'll go back over it with the Mount Vision pastel. And this is one of the things that you're going to run into. Sometimes you just won't have the color that you need, and so you're going to have to mix and match colors to get something. So that's pretty much what we did here. You can see me going back and forth and back and forth. So this is the underlayer or the base coat stage. So my normal technique in doing drawings / paintings here is to get the velour paper and then to mount it on a piece of cardboard. And I do that because velour paper itself is sort of thin. So mounting it on the cardboard gives a nice surface to give to your family member or give to somebody, whoever's going to get the painting. And it also protects it from wrinkling up, and it'll hold it in place. The next step is to do you do the tracing before that. So you hold it up to a monitor and trace it very lightly, and then put it on the cardboard, and then I'll go and do the base coat. So you can see the tracing there. And I messed up originally, you see on the upper left, I messed up the tracing, so you can sort of see the eraser that I went over it with. Velour does not erase very well. But luckily we put a background in there so you can't see it. So again, this is the base coat stage, and if you have a pet with fur or hair going a particular direction, what I'll do is move the pastel and put it on in the direction of the fur. So in this particular case, all you have is really short hairs and fur. So for that, all I'll do is make dots and dashes. Just a bunch of dots at that point. So if you have a cat or something, then that's when you want to go the direction of the fur and the hair. But when you have a short-haired animal like this one, you want to just make a bunch of dots and dashes. And you'll see that in the later stage coming up in a few minutes, where I just start making dots. And that's all pets really are when it comes to short hair, is a bunch of dots. So if you can do that, you can make a short-haired pet. It's pretty easy. So you can see velour is not conducive to like a smooth spread of pastel, because I'm not using very much pastel. If you're doing a landscape, velour is going to be kind of challenging to make a smooth layer. You're going to have to put like a mountain of pastel dust in there. But for my purposes here, I like to keep it, you can see me rubbing it in with my hand. I like to keep the pastel away from the surface and jammed into the carpet shag, right? Because that will make it more or less prone to being damaged. I think that's one of the problems when you give this to someone. No matter how many warnings you have, they're going to run their hand across it, or the kids are going to touch it or something like that. So if you have a really delicate pastel to where it's like layer upon layer upon layer, and it's like really thick, then you have an issue, immediately have an issue with, they start rubbing their hands on it, they're going to get a handful of caked up dust, right? If they turn it upside down, a big cake of dust is going to fall off. People just don't like that, man. So what I'll do is do a really, really, really thin, light layer, and then I'll rub it in. And then I'll come across with colored pencils, I'll come across with pastel pencils, and I'll press hard with those to jam the pastel farther in. And that way, you give it to a customer or you give it to your friend or family, relative member or whatever, and they rub their hand across, it's not going to ruin it, and they're not going to get a handful of caked out, nasty dust all over their fingers, right? So that's sort of what I do here, and that's sort of my own style, I guess. I do know some people that will get velour and they'll just cake it on, man. They'll do a soft pastel, they'll come over with another soft pastel, they'll come over with a hard pastel, and like you turn that thing upside down and it just rains dust everywhere, man. That's not something I want to do. That's not something that makes people happy. I'm just saying. So here we have, instead of the Mount Vision, instead of the Great American, we're coming across here with different, I guess, harder pastels. They're listed as soft. These are Giro pastels. They're listed as soft, but they're not that soft. They're hard. And then, but what I like about them is they're very, very, very vibrant. You can see, like, that color just stands out immediately. And I'll come back over with that color later and it'll stand out even more. So here we have, I'm sort of comparing the length of one ear. That's a problem you'll see in the actual picture. I don't have the full top of the ear on the right, and the left I don't have the end of the ear, so I had to guess. So it's sort of like, I hope it works. So again, this area here, I did not have the correct color, so I'm sort of winging it. I'm going to go over this with different colors too. But as a base layer, that red is really vibrant and it looks good. And that was another thing that I wanted to do, is not copy the picture. Because if you look at the picture has all sorts of problems, right? It's yellow. Like, the whole thing is yellow. It's just too yellow. And I wanted to remove that. I wanted to make it nice and white, blanket in the back. And then in the face, I want to make it a little more vibrant because that looks a little dull. So not huge vibrant. You're obviously not going to get like a bright red, right? But you can give it a little bit more vibrancy than what it has. And that's what I aim to do. I think if you're drawing / painting, I keep saying that because if I say it's a pastel painting, somebody goes, yeah, you use pencils as drawing. If you say it's a drawing, they're like, well, you use pastels, sticks, that's painting. So, whatever. Anyway, so I like, with the pastel drawings, paintings, I like to make them look better than the picture, if that's possible, right? Some pictures are just simply gorgeous. But some pictures, like this picture, he's got the camera flash eye reflections. And we're not going to do that because it's really blue, and I didn't want to put that in. So I just removed the bluish reflection in the center of the eye, and I made it look a little better. And then you can see in the ears, that's a little more vibrant. Around the eyes, it's a little more vibrant. It's not in your face, but it looks better. So again, if you can make it better than the picture, that's what you want. So this video is going to be about 30 minutes, and we're going to do the base coat and the eyes, right? Nose, eyes. Next video, we'll tackle the blanket. And I did make the blanket look almost photorealistic, and I'll show you guys how. I'll explain the whole thing to you. Easy, easy lesson. So here again, I'm coming back with this darker Great American pastel, and I'm just sort of smooching it along. So you'll see the white areas is a little too bright, and you want to do that because you're going to come back with a darker pencil and you're going to make a bunch of dots. So if you do that, it's not going to be that white. So here we start with a blanket. Just get a blanket base coat. So let me talk about white versus or dark versus light areas. So the area around the nose and above his eyes, that eyebrow area, is lighter than the rest of his skin. So you can see in the picture that's way too light, right? First thing you notice, hey dude, that's way too light. And that's what you want to do, because you're going to come back and you're going to make little dots and dashes inside of that area, and it's going to darken it up. If you make the base coat exactly the same shade as you see on the picture, the minute you come in and start putting detailed dots on it, little hairs on it, it's going to be too dark, and you're going to wish you made it lighter. So that's a general rule. Everything on the picture right now is too light, and that's the way I want it, because we're going to come back and add darker dashes, darker hairs, and it's going to bring down the shade. So let's talk about the blanket. So I'm putting, again, too light, which is what I want, because we're going to come back in the blanket area and we're going to put a lot of detail. And if it's not light enough, it's going to look weird. So again, I usually hate backgrounds, but for this picture you sort of have to do it right. The background really makes the picture. So again, rubbing it in. That's a problem with backgrounds, is you dump a lot of pastel in there. If you don't rub that in and you don't sort of chill out, it's gonna fall all over the place, on your friends' hands, on your relatives' hands. It's gonna fall all out on the frame. It's bad, man. If you can smooch out that pastel, smooth it, smooch it out, it's gonna be better. So here, again, base coat, no detail. We're gonna do lots of detail in the next video. So I'm pushing it in. I'd say in general, I would not recommend you doing a background. I mean, that's just a general rule. The problem with doing a background is it's a lot of pastel and it gets all over the place. This particular painting sort of requires it, but you know, if you're just doing a dog and you don't have to do a background, don't do it. Just my advice. It's a lot of pastel. I mean, I'm not worried about the quantity of pastel used. I'm just saying it's a lot of dust. It's going to get all over the place. And people ask, is pastel dusty? Of course. What makes it really dusty and irritable is backgrounds. So if you can avoid doing a background, avoid it, as a general rule. So that also comes up with exceptions. How important is the background to the painting, right? And in this particular case, it's extremely important, so you got to do it. All right, so we are back. So this is a pan pastel applicator. I think it's called I don't know what it's called. It's a little sponge. You can get a makeup applicator, do the same thing. So I'm taping my drawing painting so it doesn't move around. So these are called soft tools, S-O-F-F-T. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to get the hard edges out of this painting. And you get the bonus effect of shoving the pastel farther in, right? So again, the farther in you can shove the dust, the less likely it is to fall all over the place. And that's a good thing. Not sure what I'm doing here. So I soften the edges. Now it's pencil time. So base coats are with soft pastels, and then the second layer is going to be either hard pastels or pencils. In this case, it's going to be pencils. So let's start the eyeball. So a general idea, well, this particular dog's eyes don't have a lot of variety. Some dogs, cats, animals, their eyes have lots and lots and lots of detail. And normally I'll use 3 to 5 colors in the eye alone. Like, no problem. I'll use 3 to 5 colors, no problem in the eye. This is how I roll. So So we got the pupil in there. So the outside is like a light brown outside of the eye here. So here we're sort of rolling in through the eye with the outer edge of that light soft brown. You just put a little bit. So now I'm coming back with a deeper brown, but it's a desaturated brown. Then I come back with a black. Then I'm getting the pupil area. I'm just sort of nailing it, getting it right. And now coming in with the black and getting a little bit of an outline. You don't want them to have raccoon eyes, so you want to be careful with this black. It's very, very easy to make a raccoon eyes on a dog or a cat accidentally, and then you're struggling to get it out, man. So here we go. This is a more saturated brown. And here we go with the dots. Let me explain dots. If you have a short-haired animal or a long-haired animal with short hairs around the face, you're going to make a lot of dots and dashes, right? So effectively, instead of covering, so you see around the eye as you come in towards the nose, right? That area is all spotted dots. If you get your pastel and you make that a solid area, solid line, solid area, it's going to look terrible. It's going to look like a cartoon or an anime dog. For realism, for almost all of the face, you want to have nothing but dots and dashes. If you have long hairs, you're going to draw long hairs. That's obvious. But for the rest of the dog or cat, once you get around the face, the hairs get shorter, right? Most dogs and cats don't have long hairs hanging in their eyes or hanging in their nose. They would constantly be trying to get it out of their eye, right? So most animals have shorter hairs around the face, around the eyes, around the nose. Most, I mean there are exceptions. Most animals. So once you get there, see, look, I'm making little dashes, little dots. You want to make all dashes and dots. So that's going to give it the texture that you want. Because without that texture, it doesn't look realistic. I mean, if you're just going for an anime dog, or you just want to have a quickie dog, then sure, fill it in. But if you want realism, you need dots and dashes. So you can see the dots and dashes are going left to right. And you can also see them coming back in with a colored pencil and making more dots and dashes. So if you look at the picture close, and I know it's a thumbnail, sorry. If you look at the picture really close, you have this saturated brown, which I'm doing, mixed with a dark brown, which I'm doing, mixed with little white areas, which I'm doing here. So you have a triple combo. And look at how good that looks. You can already see how good that looks. That's realistic. And I'm not going up or down. I'm not going sideways. I'm going right and left. And then I'm going up and down at the top because that's the direction of the hairs. So you want to pay attention to the direction of the hairs and you want to go that same direction. So again, dots and dashes, dots and dashes. So I'm mixing in the dark brown with the saturated brown, and that's looking really good. See, already look at the eye, the left eye, and then look at the area above the eye. Photorealistic at this point, man. It's photorealistic. Why? Dots and dashes. Gotta have that texture. In multiple colors. You can't get one color. You can't say, it's white and black. I'm going to put, it looks mixed gray. I'm going to put white and black. No, it's not. Take a look. Zoom in to your picture and you should see 3 to 5 different colors. And those are the 3 to 5 different colors you want to make dots and dashes, right? So you see right here, we got a saturated dark brown. We got a saturated light brown. We got a desaturated dark brown. So you can see me switching back and forth. Then we got a little white. So that's how you get the photorealistic look. You want to represent the colors with your dots and dashes. So here's the light saturated. This is super saturated reddish light brown right here. So I'm getting that, dots and dashes. Coming back in through here, and I'm pressing lighter. You see in the area down here, it gets lighter. Here we come with the dark brown dots and dashes. So as you go down the face towards the nose, you'll see it gets lighter, light pink. And that's our base color. So we don't have to do much. We just have to put in a little bit of texture down there, and it's done. So you'll see me, I'm sort of sneaking around that light area right here with dots and dashes. Now I'm switching to the nose. But if you look on the left side, other than a few corrections, that looks fantastic, right? Got that texture. I know I'm sort of repeating myself, and I apologize in advance, but it's extremely important, and I think most people that I see that try this, and they're like, I don't know how you do it or whatever. If you just do the techniques I'm talking about with the different colors I'm talking about, you'll make it look great. Like, there's no skill involved. Let me rant on that for a minute. As you can see, dots and dashes, blah, blah, I already said all that crap. Let me tell you, there's no skill involved whatsoever. Everyone says you're so talented or whatever like that. There's not really any skill. It's just, I guess the skill is looking close at the picture, matching up your pencils into your hand, you know, getting 2, 3 colors, maybe 4 colors, whatever. So you match up the pencils. That's it. That's your skill level's done. If you can do that, then you can make one of these, right? All you have to do is dot and dash it. And then you look at it, you compare it with a photo. You're like, you know, is that too light? Is that too dark? Is that too saturated or no? So if you can match up pencil colors, you can do this. There's no skill whatsoever at all. I'm doing nothing. I'm making dots and dashes in the proper direction at this point. So, I mean, if you've been on the fence about trying a pet, trying an animal, do it, right? Again, I mean, there's not, somebody said I was talented. I'm like, I'm not talented. I can't draw a stick figure. I can't draw. Somebody said you make amazing drawings. I'm just, it's just dots and dashes. The correct selection of colors. If you can do that, then you can make it too. Look at the picture. Which way is the fur going? Right here, the fur is going at a 45-degree left to down, right? You see right here, the fur is going left to right, and it's a little curved. It's not straight. There's no skill. I mean, pick up some pencils, some pastels, and do it. There's literally no skill involved whatsoever. So, that's pretty much all I have to say about my rant. If you're on the fence about doing these paintings, just do it. So easy. You don't have to draw. I trace, right? I'm lazy. I trace. I don't do any drawings. All I do is the dots and dashes, and then I'm done. So you can see the eye looks realistic. All I did was draw a circle and then make a couple of dots with a colored pencil. And you have photorealism, my friends. Photorealism. I'm showing off my pencil sharpener. I got a good pencil sharpener. If you're doing pastels and you need a pencil sharpener, go to my YouTube channel and search for pencil sharpener review. And I will show you my, what is it called? My original something pencil sharpener that's sitting in the other side of the room. It's amazing. It only costs like 20 bucks. It never dulls. The blade never dulls because there's no blade. So again, the proper direction, dashes right here. Maybe I'll just do that. The next video I'll just say, proper direction dashes, proper direction dots. Break out some pastels and color along with me, my friends. All right, so here you can see it's saturated, so we get our saturated brown. And I'm going over that gray. So you see the gray is really spotty, but once you start adding stuff to it, it's less so. So join me for the next video. I'm Mitch Ashford, as you can see on the screen. And we'll start the background. I'll teach you photorealistic blankets. Won't you join me?